Hello, Glenda Mollet here, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I'm in my craft room today, also known as the Craft Room Stamper, and I'm going to stamp with you the third card from our April 2019 monthly stamping club, and we're going to use the Best Catch bundle today. No, just the stamp set, sorry. So here's the stamp set. There is a set of dies that goes with it. Just let me pull them out here so I can show them to you. Well, they're here somewhere. Oh, they're called Catch of the Day. And until the end of May, you can get these in a bundle and save 10% on purchasing them separately. We're not going to use the Catch of the Day dies. We're going to use the large letter dies. This is called Eclipse Technique. And I case this card from Michelle Zindorf. Okay, so we're going to use Best Catch. The sentiment comes from Itty Bitty Birthdays. There it is. We're going to use the large letter framelits dies. They're just about 2¼ inches, I think, big. And stitched rectangle die as well. Now, I did forget to get my brayer, so just hang on a sec till I come back. We need a sponge brayer to do the background, and I forgot to do that. Okay, so here's the recipe. Let's get it in there straight. Blueberry bushel, granny apple green, whisper white. And the ink we're using is Balmy Blue, Blueberry Bushel, Memento, and Crumb Cake. And we're going to use a whole bunch of blends. The combo for Soft Sea Foam, the combo for Granny Apple Green, Light Crumb Cake, Light Pumpkin Pie, Dark Daffodil Delight, the Lifter if you want to take some color out, and of course Wink Estella if you want to use it. And this is the inside of the card. There we are. Okay, so let's get started. Get the kit out here. I did forget to show it. There's the envelope. It's just like the inside of the card. So there's the envelope. And the inside piece is 5¼ by 4. And I'll put those together because they stamp the same way. So for this one, the white layer is flat on the Blueberry Bushel layer, which is flat on the Granny Apple Green layer, but then that Granny Apple Green layer is popped up on dimensionals, and so is the sentiment, and so are the letters that we're going to die cut out. Now I used just dimensionals to lift mine up. If you want to use the foam strips, they're a little bit taller, so you get a more dramatic effect, so I might just pull those out and we can do that. Okay, so this is the piece we're going to do all of the stuff to. And it's a hamburger oriented card, which means it's sideways. So I'm just going to get out the Balmy Blue ink. If you're part of the club and you need to place your club order, there's the host code for the club order. Our club is on, I think it's April the 10th this month. So let me check. Yes, Wednesday, April the 10th. So please have your orders in before or no later than 6 o'clock on April the 10th, 2019. Using that host code, and Holly is our hostess this time. Okay, Balmy Blue. This is a sponge brayer. They come in a package with 1 handle and 3 sponges, and they're so easy to use. I'm just going to put this sideways because I'm going to go back and forth on this, and I don't want to get my ink all over my grid paper. So when you're inking up your sponge brayer, don't do this on your ink pad because that only gets about this much of your brayer inked up. You want to do it this way so that you're always pushing the brayer ahead and you getting ink on the areas that you missed. And the second tip is when you go to start off of the cardstock, because otherwise you're going to get a blob on there. So just start off and then work your way on. And you're probably saying there's no color on there. Well, there is. This is a light color, and you just have to go over it a few times. And if you see on mine, it's when I did it, it's a little bit at the top and a little bit more at the bottom. So this just takes patience. See the color starting to come up now? And don't rush it. Don't think, oh, I need to start on it so I get more color. You won't like the effect. Oh, apparently I'm just looking at what I did there, and I got balmy blue at the top and blueberry bushel at the bottom. So there you go. Who knew? So I need another brayer. Hang on. Now these brayers, they just clean under running water. They will stain. As you can see, this one is stained, but it doesn't affect the color at all because you wash the color out. Oh, some of these ink pads are so stiff. They're the ones that I haven't used yet. So I've turned it over, and I'm going to do the blueberry bushel on the bottom now. And remember, just ink it up like this and start off of your cardstock. And this one's darker, so it's going to color up a little bit faster. And you want to make sure when you're doing it that you go right from one end to the other. You don't want to stop halfway up, or I mean halfway across, because you're going to get that line that I told you about before. And you do it as light or as dark as you want. There is no right or wrong way of doing this. Oh look, I've got some blurbs up there. Oh well, I think that's where the hook's going to go, so we might be lucky. And if not, somebody's going to end up with a blob. So while I have the ink out, I'm just going to do the happy birthday too. And this is blueberry bushel. There we are. That's that, and I can get rid of this. That to the side, get out the inside in the envelope, and we're going to put the fishing creel in there. It's kind of a weird word, but that's okay. That's what they want to call it. That's what we'll call it. The creel. One on the inside, one on the envelope. There we are. That's that done. I can get rid of this. Okay, now comes the interesting part. Get this piece that I did the sponging on. Now it doesn't matter if you sponge before or after. I don't think it really makes a difference. So this one, I've just taken regular sponges, these kind of sponges, and just gone back and forth. This one I use the brayer on, and you can see a bit of a difference. But that's okay, because it doesn't all have to be the same. Okay, so we're going to ink up the fish. Make sure it's good and inky. And then you kind of want it to go sort of like that right there. It's tough trying to decide where to put this. And this is Memento ink that I'm using because we're going to be coloring with the blends. And now the hook. The fish hook. And put it there. Well, I got rid of some of the blob. Okay. Now we get to do some coloring. Now on the hook, I've used the light pumpkin pie and light crumb cake. Just going to give this a quick color. You don't always have to be blending with the blends. And if you have the regular markers, you can do that. You can do this with the regular markers. You're just not going to get the color gradation, whatever they call it. Okay, so there's the hook. That wasn't too hard. Now the fish we need. The light soft seafoam and the dark soft seafoam, and that's going to do this part of them. So when I do my coloring, I always start with the light because that's just the way I like doing it. But if you prefer to do the dark, do the dark. Not a big deal. We're going to do a little bit of blending with this, and you want to make sure that you get a good base coat of color when you're blending, because otherwise it's not going to blend. There we are. Now the dark one, and just do some where you think the shadows might be. Let's put a little bit there, and then where they've got the shading there, and then go back over with the light one. And this just helps blend it all together so you don't get any lines in there. There we go. So that was soft seafoam, light and dark. Now we'll take Granny Apple Green, light and dark, and I'm going to start with the light. And do, oh, I hope I'm getting this in the frame for you. I'm going to do a little bit over here. Alright, that was the light. Now we'll take the dark and we'll just do some shading with it, just to give it a little bit of definition in some spots. Not too much. And back to the light again, and just go over top of it to blend them in. Just like that. There we are. Okay, so that was Granny Apple Green. What have we got left here? We got some yellow. Let's put some light Daffodil Delight on here, just to do some highlights underneath the pumpkin pie that we're going to be sticking on. And if you do the whole thing with the light Daffodil Delight, then you can kind of go over it where you want and make it less or more pumpkin pie. Now those of you, oh, I forgot to use tail. Oh well, I'll do it in a minute, because I want to keep going while this yellow is active. Those of you that are in the club and you're looking for something to order, oh my, order the blends. You are not going to be disappointed. And then just do some flipping. Oh, a little bit of flicking down there. And go back in with the yellow. And every time you do this, it's going to be different. You're not going to get the same result every time. Which is what I like about these things. You can do so many cool blending and shading and play with them. There we go. See, that didn't take too long. Now I'm just going to go back with the Granny Apple Green because I forgot to do his tail. Now this card can be for Father's Day. It can be for birthday. Go there. You don't have to use the word fish. You can, any 4-letter word. If you get more than 4 letters, the card's not big enough. So then you would have to do a custom size card. Which is not a big deal, because if you have the envelope punch board, you can make a custom sized envelope for it. I'll do a little bit more blending there. There we go. So I'm kind of cool with that, and I'm not going to use the lifter. And this one I put a little bit of crumb cake just to darken things up a bit in some areas. There we are. I'm happy with that. It's done. Now at this point, if you want to use Wink Estella on this, you have to do it at this point, because you can't do it once it's, well, you can do it once it's cut, but it's just a little bit more awkward to do it. There we are. Just a little bit of Wink Estella on there. Now comes the fun part. Get the magnetic platform and the letter dies. Now, like I said, you can do just about anything for your letters. Just make sure that you have the letters the right way up. The last card I did, yeah, the S was this way, and it's not supposed to be. It was upside down, but only I notice it. But every time I look at that card now, I think, oh my Lord, that was upside down. Okay, so I'm just going to center this here. And I'm going to take my ruler, because you know me, OCD me, I kind of want them all to be the same. So I'm just pushing them down so that they're kind of the same height. And run it through the Big Shot. Crick, crick, crick. Oh, my eye moved. Oh well. Gonna have a crooked eye. Oh well. There's the S. Yay, I got it the right way up this time. And the H. Now I'm going to go get the foam strips so I can show you the difference between the dimensionals and the foam strips. Alright, now I need my layers. And this one with the crooked eye. Oh, that's gonna be funny. I made, our children are going to have their birthday in April, and I already have their cards made. And one of them I made the letters crooked, because I wanted to. Purposefully crooked. Okay, now comes the fun part. Making sure that your little bits are not going to lift up once you get them on there. So put tape in the ones you can, and the ones that are not big enough for tape, just take some Tombow and stick it in there. Make sure it's all, I'm going to stick a strip of tape in here. There we go. So now that layers onto the blueberry bushel piece. Oops. Come on. There we are. And now this will layer onto the Granny Apple green one. That eye looks funky. See, I said I was going to start letting go of my OCD-ishness. There, that just proves that I am working towards it. Okay, so now we're going to flip our letters over, because we have to put the foam strips on the other side. So these are the foam strips. They come in a package. You get 2 of these sheets in the package. And they're just strips, but they're thicker than our regular dimensionals. Stampin' Up! Brought them out to use when you're doing shaker cards. But they look really good using them on this technique too, because they make things stick up a bit more. And you just have to put little pieces in and make sure they don't show on the other side. I think my scissors need sharpening. Time to get them out to hubby's shop. So there's the F and the I. And you can use this around here too. That's just the edging, and it's exactly the same. I always use all my edges. Don't want to throw too much stuff away. Okay, now comes the S. This one is a little bit trickier, because you have to use a little bit smaller pieces. But if you take your time, it will be just fine. See, it doesn't take too long to put these on. And now the H is relatively easy. Whoops. Put a strip there. And put a strip there. All right. Now, you just, first of all, make sure you don't put it in there upside down, because you could put it in this way, but see, then things wouldn't line up. So you need to put it in the way that they're going to line up. So it's like the dimensionals. You take your liners off the back. And stick them back in the holes. And the S. They're sticky. All right, so we need to make sure you get the S the right way up so that his mouth is where it needs to be. Whoops, come on. And the I. With these, I find if you try to go sideways to take the liners off, it works a little bit better. Make sure, oh, look at that eye, how crooked it is. Love it. Oh. Funky doodle. wonder who I'm going to give this card to. Oh, I have the perfect person in mind for this card. Family member. There we are. So that, okay, so I'm going to show you the difference. So here's the one with the dimensionals, and here's the one with the strips. So we'll do it sideways this way, because you can see there's definitely a height difference in them. And it's neither one is right or wrong. They're just your personal preference. Okay, and I'm going to get some big dimensionals. So there's a big area. And then I'm just going to use the dimensionals for this, not the strips. Because I don't want them to be that high off. And yes, I'm going to use quite a few because I don't like it when my card sags in the middle. There we are. And the card base, and we're going to put it right up there like that. Or right down here like this. Let's do this one that way. Ha! I love doing this. Having a card and then making it slightly different. You don't have to do exactly the same thing all the time. Just about done. Get those last couple liners off. There we are. That's just annoying watching me do that, I'm sure. Okay, we'll just center it down here. There we are. Now I have to cut the birthday out, and I'm just going to do that with this stitched rectangle die and the big shot. Get it lined up here, make sure it's even. All right, there we are. And the little dimensionals on the back. Like that. I'll put that one up here. You can center this if you want. Personally, I like it edge to the right edge. There we are. There's the card done. Now all we have to do is put this on the inside. Don't forget, for April 2019 club members, there's your host code. So you can get your order in before or on April the 10th, no later than 6 o'clock, please. And Holly is our hostess this time. All right. There we are. How quick was that? This card looks like you spent an amazing amount of time building it, where in reality, you don't. It's quite quick. The coloring takes the longest. Oops, let's get these out of the way. So, what do you think? Cool card, eh? Thanks to Michelle Zindorf for her inspiration to create this card. And thank you for joining me in my craft room today for a little bit of stamping fun. It's sunny and gorgeous outside, and I think I'm going to go for a walk and enjoy the fresh air and the sunshine. Stamp and smiles. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.